Everyone, welcome to the new media show. My name is Todd Cochran. I want to welcome you to a special Sunday show. I was stuck in an airplane yesterday all day, so we didn't do a show yesterday, but we're here today. And of course, I want to welcome my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Good, good. It's good to be here, Todd. It's good to be back doing the show with video. I know it's been a week.
Yep.
Um, it's different to do it. I think just audio, just because I can't see you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's
so
true.
it does kind of add a little bit of element there of kind of body language and facial expressions that makes it a little bit more interesting, right?
Yep,
From a
absolutely.
Yeah, from a kind of being a co-host and type of situation versus, I mean, because I do an audio show every week that's just audio,
Yep.
and I have a co-host and stuff, and it definitely has. There's a different dynamic there doing a live video in combination. So it's good
Y-
to be back doing it this way again.
Yeah, and you basically get to, you can kind of watch and you don't necessarily have to wave like, "Hey, let me in here," but yeah, you definitely get those body cues. So,
Yeah.
that's good, and that's why some people ask me sometimes, "Why are you always looking off the sides?" Because that's where the monitor is, and that's where I'm watching you. So,
Well, and
instead of
also you're having to run a TriCaster there too.
yeah, yeah,
So you're hosting as well as managing the production of
y-
the program.
it
So
is, and I
yeah,
only use about 25% of this thing's capability because
yeah,
it's because I can't be distracted, do other stuff. But anyway,
yeah.
good morning, everyone, and welcome to the new media show. I'm going to kind of title this show today the And it's just because that's what I've been dealing with all week. At least I have. I know. Well, I think Libsyn has you, and maybe you guys too, Rob. But
Yeah,
it is
sure.
the SoundCloud Exodus. Um, we've been talking about SoundCloud and their concerns with their company for a long, long time, and nothing. You just like we talked about it, and not even a blip on the radar. But the TechCrunch article earlier in the week, oh my God, it was like the ceiling was falling in. Yeah, that caused a visceral reaction. Like I got to thinking about. I told the team because I was in Columbus. I said, this is nothing. I said, this is just like the drip drip of a faucet. Because if this had been the real deal, we'd have been, all Dev would have, it'd have been all hands on deck just to deal with the
Hmm.
influx. But it was, pretty much four of us, pretty much full time for 2 full days, just doing nothing but dealing with, panicked SoundCloud users
Hmm.
or podcasters.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do have a lot to be concerned about. I, I agree. I think every one of them needs to have a backup plan here, or just make a move. Um, I think the time has probably come. It's hard to say what's going to happen here for sure. I know I used to work with a woman that at Zoom that is now VP of Content Relations over there, and I know she's been putting out some information saying that SoundCloud's here to stay. And but that's just, it looks like one person that posted on the SoundCloud blog, and I'd be happy to share that as part of the show notes here. Um,
One DJ said that he had a talk with SoundCloud leadership, and they said they're here to stay. But here's the
yeah,
thing. You know, you're trying to get acquired. And when you're trying to getting acquired, everything is good. Nothing is bad. Nothing is, there's no
hmm,
problems. But yet you laid 170, well, you fired 173 people, 40% of your workforce. So that gives you some
yeah,
breathing room on cash
it does. Yeah,
from a payroll standpoint.
but is
But
there any more cash coming in? Is the problem?
well, and then there's the perception then what you're dealing with then is you've got, let's say what do you normally fire? And if you're a SoundCloud employee that got fired, please don't take this the wrong way. You normally fire the chaff. You get rid of those folks that are maybe not bringing as much value to the company, and you keep your superstars. So
Yeah.
um what so now
Or
this
you get rid of the ones that are very expensive,
Well, that could be
and
true too.
keep the ones that have the most value. I guess is the problem.
Yeah.
Is
So
yeah.
then those folks are kind of like, and then they hear, these rumors that they've got 50 days of cash left, and they said themselves that they did not think that they can make it to the end of the year. So we're in July. They've taken drastic cutting measures. They say they can make it to quarter four. Well, they always said they could make it to quarter four. Well, at least you assumed in their language that they could make it to quarter four. But then this rumor comes out, or however TechCrunch got this information, that they've got 50 days of cash, and then they said, no, 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 we're good, we're good. Um, who do you believe when you have a company who was hiring up until 2 days before they made the firing announcement, and people had been given job offers, had quit their jobs, were in the process of moving from one country to another, and said, "Oh, sorry, you don't have a job now." Um,
Yeah.
who do you trust?
Yeah. Yeah. It's when this stuff starts to happen, things can get ugly real fast. Plus, I also know that they've been burning a lot of cash because they've been living high on the hog. I guess their offices back in New York are just really really high end and expensive, and the business really didn't justify it. I know kind of a little bit being in the music business for many years, working on Zune, that you kind of have to project a certain amount of, I guess, cool factor out there to attract the artists and the creative types that maybe you want to have on your platform. But if the company can't really afford that, it puts the company in a tough position. And I think that was part of the issue here. They weren't operating lean and mean like a startup that they really are. I mean, they've been around a long time, but they really are kind of in that startup type phase. They're not self-sustaining business, and the music business is very difficult. It's not a tough thing, and as we know, they've tried many times to be acquired. And one of the big reasons that a lot of people haven't wanted to acquire them is because there's just a lot of risk there. And most companies want to add a company that's going to add to their bottom line, not
Subtract.
cause more problems to their bottom line. So,
Yeah, and,
yeah,
and no one wants to see these folks go out. I like competition. And their pricing model's been pretty aggressive. I think we all recognize that. And
yeah,
a lot of,
too
we've talked,
aggressive, I think. Yeah,
well, I love this comment. I'm just going to have to share it because it it came from someone that we all know. And oh, I got to read this. I just have to read it. Um, Classic email. I need to move over from SoundCloud because I read they are going out of business, which, no one said, well, TechCrunch kind of said it. I need to move over from SoundCloud because I read they're going out of business, but I don't like your pricing. Can you offer me pricing that matches SoundCloud? The reply. Their pricing is why they're going out of business and why you're contacting us. That to me is just like sums it all up.
yeah.
Um, so we've had a little bit of pushback on that too. Like, oh, whoa, what? Well, how come you're so expensive? I'm like, well, I got a business model that is, you know, I'm a business that has to make money. I have to be in the black. I can't be in the red. If I'm in the red, I lay off and fire people and go out of business. So,
Well,
uh,
I mean, Todd, you've looked at it, and I know that some of the other companies in this space look at things from the perspective they're not necessarily operating off of venture capital anymore, so they kind of have to pay their bills every month. SoundCloud has been living off of venture capital, um, and eventually you kind of have to grow up, and you have to start standing on your own 2 feet. It's really it. I mean, if you really want to sum it down to the bottom line, these guys haven't grown up. They haven't developed a model over the many years that they've been living off of venture capital that will enable them to stand on their own 2 feet.
no. Do, do,
They've
you,
been growing on price, is what they've been doing,
do, you,
and that's
do you know how I built this? Well, how my team built this company, right? I mean, Rob, at the beginning. This is what we use at the beginning. You know,
Oh yeah,
we didn't have no venture
that's your venture
capital.
capital right there.
You know, we stuck our neck on the line and you know and flopped out our well, you know,
Well, but yeah, that's not even a credit card. That I mean, you got to pay
r-
that off every 30
right,
days,
right,
right?
right, right.
Yeah.
You know, and I just held that up as an example, but you know, luckily though, we had a pretty good model from the beginning, and we had advertising, and we had revenue coming in, and we had no overhead because everyone was working from home. You know, so it was, you know, that's just, you know, every company has their own startup stories, but no, I've never had investors. I was the investor.
Well, and Todd, also one of the piece to this puzzle, which is, I don't know, it's been talked about very much. Is SoundCloud really hasn't been really engaged in the podcast community, really ever. And it's because they are a little bit music focused, right?
Yep,
Which in reality, their business model makes it a little tough for them to be that music focused
yep.
because it's expensive. Um, and and it's been a little surprising to me that SoundCloud hasn't gotten more engaged in this community and been a had a voice. I don't think I've ever seen I could contact my old workmate at SoundCloud. I suppose I probably should have, and just asked her that question, why she doesn't come to our events if podcasters are so important
They
to
don't have no
them. But
money to come to events, Rob.
well, she's I mean she's very focused on music, but I
But
just it gets back to some basics here.
but
um
here's the next question too. It the reason they haven't become involved because it's an afterthought. You know, it's an add-on product. Well, we can do this. Let's go ahead and add it. You know, it's not going to hurt. But
yeah,
also, we heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I got a private email from someone that says they're really worried because, and again, this is, I don't know who's taken over the podcast part, but the podcast section was apparently run out of LA, um, out of that office.
hmm
And if they canned all those people and closed that office, now who is in charge of the podcasting division?
I would think it's my former workmate because she's the VP in charge of content relations.
So where is she moving to? Is she moving to
I
Europe?
believe she's based out of San Francisco, I believe.
Well, didn't they
Or no, I think she's back in New York.
but didn't they closed the New York office? So is she working out of her
Did
house
they?
now? Yeah.
She says she lives in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, but I think they closed. Didn't they close all their US offices? I thought
I
they did.
Maybe they did. I haven't heard that.
Well, at least one in the US and one in Europe.
Okay. I know
So,
that they they had an office in San Francisco, so maybe that's the one they closed down.
yeah, maybe. Or maybe, so anyway, so maybe you know, this information I got was totally false. Who knows? But you know, the bottom line is you know, here's the deal. If you are on, you know, we've been talking about this enough. My God, you shouldn't have to know anymore, but you know, just have a plan. You know, be able to move. You know, be able to well, you know, be prepared if they go out. They go because if they're hunting for money and they don't get it, they're going to run it right to the last hour. Then they're going to go, okay, turn the switch off. But they're already in debt. You know, they're running on debt funding now, so they're really
hmm
not running on money that was from the you know in the black. So they got like what is that 50 million or something like that they borrowed. You know, think about that. I'm thinking if I had 50 million, oh, wow, wow, what I could do in the podcasting space.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
You know, let's let's be like wow. It's like holy cow. Thinking, you know, give us 10.
Well, then Todd, it's also very likely that they could be still acquired by
Oh,
somebody. It just
well,
they would be acquired for pennies on the
they
dollar
have to
if
be, yeah. And
I mean
this is
if this goes down a path far enough, somebody like Google
yeah.
or Facebook will come in and snap them up.
Well, they are going to get acquired. Let's just, you know, let's be, you know, there's no reason why they shouldn't. in the vultures are circling because they're waiting for the price to go as low as it can go
Mm-hmm.
before they come in there and write a check. And then
Yep.
the real question becomes, because I have no doubt that they'll get acquired. But the real question then becomes, what does the new owner do?
Yeah.
What does he
You don't
cut?
know.
Yeah, you don't know. Where's the different priorities? So and we'll see. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's been manic. It's people are rightfully so are scared to death.
Well, I think that the most likely candidate, and if I think about who would have an interest in buying these folks,
Yep.
it would be Google.
Hmm.
I I mean, if you back up and you really think about it from the 30,000-foot view, it would make the most sense.
Right.
But yeah, that's just a speculation on my part.
Yep.
I mean, if I look at what they're trying to accomplish, and I look at what SoundCloud is positioned to do, there's a lot of synergy there.
But it's scary. You heard what's the name of the company that said they were thinking about trying to buy them? Let me bring up the. That's the company that originally acquired. Oh my God. Let's see here. Let me find it. Deezer. It said Deezer was in play.
Oh boy, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, that's who's talking to him. Is Deezer. That seems to be the latest suitor.
Really?
Yep. And I also read somewhere that, and this was on some Reddit channel that someone posted in, I don't know, social media somewhere, that really the challenge has been is that they made some change recently where they brought in Brazilian folks into SoundCloud for part of their network support or something, and I guess that was just pure chaos. At least that's what the Reddit thing said. So they got more problems going on than anyway. It is what it is. But it brings up another topic. Let's if you're on
Yeah.
SoundCloud, you're at risk, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There was I saw this in and I'm almost afraid to get into this topic because this is gonna piss some people off. But I just kind of have to. I saw a link to this thing called the New Media Summit. Have you heard about this, Rob?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So, the New Media Summit is happening September 22, 24th in San Diego. It's the only event where you guaranteed to connect personally with the world's most popular podcasters and leave with bookings in hand. And I'm thinking, are they pitching to people or are they pitching to podcasters on this? And it's like, would you like to meet one on one with 40 of the world's 40 of the world's leading podcasters? I don't know how they determined that, to be honest with you. But would you like to quickly gain massive, no cost exposure for you and your business? Would you like to receive detailed training on how to leverage and monetize the power of new media? If you answered yes to one of the above questions, register now. So how much does it cost to register? Let me guess, $2,000. Let's look here. How
No.
much? Oh, um, it makes you go through 25 pages of shit before you figure out how much it actually cost. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
you have to click register now. It's like one of these layered things.
Mm-hmm.
Holy, holy smokes! How much do you think it costs to go to this event? If you're a business owner and you want to be interviewed by podcasters, what do you
Uh,
think?
it's I don't know. Let's see here.
Five
Oh yeah.
$4,997.
Wow. I'm sorry, I wouldn't touch this event with a 10-foot pole.
Okay, they're going to have Marshall Silver there, world-renowned hypnotist, master of interpersonal. Remember Marshall?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't take my mic away, Marshall. Remember him?
Yeah.
Where was he at? He was at the
Uh,
what event?
I can't remember.
He
But
was the guy
but
at podcast. He was the guy at
oh it
Podcast Expo,
at the New Media
new
Expo
media
in
show
Vegas.
in Vegas.
In Vegas, that's right. Oh jeez.
Oh my God, they have no idea. N- oh my God, no idea.
Yeah.
And then, okay, who's going to be at this event? Let's look. Um, Jeff Brown, Michael O'Neill, J.V. Crum III, Nicole Holland, Jonathan Milligan, Jay Wong, Tina Dietz, Joe Burgess,
Yeah.
J.J. Falans, Greta. Do they know? Oh man. Okay. Um, pay $5,000 to go meet these 40 podcasters. I think it's a novel idea, but soon as I saw that guy on the list, I'm like, run as fast as you can.
Yeah. So who's actually behind this
I
event?
don't know. I don't know.
They
And
don't say,
let's
do
see.
they?
Let's see if I can go to the bottom and find out because it's got all this marketing bullshit that's in here. That's just. It is limited to just 70 attendees. Well, of course, 70 attendees at $5,000 a piece.
Steve Oshler? Alsher? Steve Alsher?
Sponsorship is Kelly Polker. I don't. SteveOlsher.com is the website.
Yeah, I'm going there right now. It's not really loading very fast. Okay.
And you know, if I was a real asshole, I would go after him for trademark abuse. But
Oh, yeah. We got it first, dude. Yeah. Okay, well, it it looks like maybe Steve Olsher is behind this.
yeah,
And he's got a radio show and he does speaking.
it's
He's America's reinvention expert
yeah
is
he
how he's tagged
it's
himself.
another internet marketing guy, is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what this really is. So
Yeah.
I look at the list of some of the speakers and I'm like, really, guys, really, you're gonna go? I know a few people that were approached to come and said that they weren't going to touch us with a 10-foot pole either. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I mean, I'm not going to go to an event and knowing that the people attending paid $5,000 to be there. It's
just to
yeah.
meet me,
Yeah.
you can just send me an email.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um. So yeah, I'm just I saw this and I just like wow. So well, maybe we gave him some I don't know free publicity. I guess any news is good news, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah,
when I
that's
went
true.
through and saw $5,000.
Says that you'll receive over $10,000 in bonuses with your registration.
Oh, of course they always say that. You know, it's in you get all these free interviews because you're going.
Yeah, but what's a bonuses?
I
I've
don't
never
know.
heard it referred to like that.
No.
So
6 pre-training online sessions, 3 full days of training, 1 day of dedicated solely one-on-one meetings with icons of influence, gourmet lunch every day. It better be gourmet if you're spending 5 grand. Special Saturday evening event, opening reception, and then yeah, over $10,000 in bonuses.
mm,
So we got sponsors are Perfect Podcast Guest. How did Heil get sucked into this? Gene Powers and Brett Gregory, whoever that is. But this Marshall Silver, I'm just like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. What is his? He sells a what? What was his thing? $900 or something like that. He pitches you for an hour, and
hmm
then he's like, people are in the back, go in the back right now and get out your credit card, and it's this hard sell. I've heard his pitch,
yeah.
and it is swarmy at best, in my opinion. Ugh.
Okay. Yeah. Oh well. Oh well, Todd.
Those of you that are listening to this that have signed up for this, just go look for some of his videos.
Yeah. All right.
Well, okay. So,
I mean, Todd, it's basically, what is it, a 3-day mastermind is what it is, really, right? Or 4-day.
yeah,
Sorry.
yes, a 4-day shoot me in the head mastermind. Oh my God.
Says they've it's limited to 150 attendees, and I guess
Oh,
they've
they've slashed that. It's only 70 now.
70 left.
Seven. Oh, there's only no way that 80 people have signed up for this.
That's what they're giving the impression. That's what's happening.
Okay. All right.
It doesn't specifically say that.
No.
So it says is just limited to 150 slash 70 now.
Yep.
It's like, is that how many tickets they have left, or is that they just cut the number down because they weren't getting people to sign up?
Who knows?
It's hard to say, right?
Yes. It's a full event. It's they've got an agenda that keeps you busy from 8 a.m. to 10:30 at night every
I haven't
day.
really seen a detailed agenda
It
here on this site.
it's a little bit below lower, but it's no detail. It's just new media training, new media training, new media training.
That's all. Okay, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
really give you much detail.
No, one-on-one meetings with oh,
And
in the last page, day 4, Icons Mastermind. That's probably where they sell them the ongoing $10,000 per year mastermind thing. That
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So who's the one doing the teaching and training here?
well, who knows? Probably all these speakers.
Really?
I would assume. Who knows? Doing the training, you know. But it's when I see stuff like this, I just like.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's not my cup of tea.
It's, yeah. It doesn't really have a huge impact on what we do, Todd.
No.
It's a certain group that likes to do this kind of stuff because they're trying to make a business out of
Yeah.
this space, and they're not really making a business out of podcasting. They're making a business out of getting other people to podcast.
Right.
So
Or trying to it. Anyway, it's whatever. It's
yeah.
yeah. Ah.
So what else is going on?
Well.
Besides that, we've got SoundCloud falling from the sky, and then we've got the IEB sets an upfront lineup for
Oh.
the market.
Oh, we should talk about the IEB comment period on the measurement
Yeah,
system.
we should do that as well. Yes.
Yeah. So what did you read it? Did you read the
No, I
changes?
haven't yet. I haven't seen it yet. So, was there a post to the IEB website for this?
There's a link that they sent a mailer out with the link to it. It hasn't gotten a lot of sharing yet. See if I can find the link here.
If
I'll
we
put it up
can
on the
pull it up
website.
and maybe talk about it a little bit.
I don't know how much I want to talk about it, to be honest with you. I have to be careful on what I say.
Yeah.
Let's see
Well,
here.
well, so why is it necessary not to talk about it very
Well, we
much?
can. I want people to go in and read it and make their own commentary.
Well, sure. It's
So,
always a good thing.
and because I'm an IEB member, I have to be careful in everything that I say about this document.
So what's the name of the document?
I'm going to put it up here.
Oh, I'm trying to
It's
pull it up on my screen too.
podcast measurement version 2.0. And
Dated the 14th,
it's dated, yes. Oh, no, August 11th, 2017. Oh,
August.
no. They want feedback by August 11th.
Oh, okay, but so is it an article that was posted on the IAB website, um,
Um, yeah,
dated the 14th?
yeah. I just have the link to the document. Sorry, Rob. I don't have.
Measurement guideline. Yeah, I went to the IEB website and their link is broken to that article.
So
So let's see here. I'm going to go at it from a different angle.
I think that what we need to really,
Okay, here it is.
I
I
think what
found it.
people should focus on is really, I think everyone should take some time and really read this thing and pay attention in particular to the measurement methodology. So, in essence, what the document says is that if here in my house on my internet connection, I connect to a show and download it with my phone, then with my computer, and then with my Android device, and then with an old BlackBerry phone, and then with my Roku, and how many ever devices I have that can connect to a single episode, we're going to count each one of those as a download, a viable download.
A unique download that's
Yes, yes,
has
from
that's associated with a unique
IP
potential listener.
and with a unique IP.
So it's not going to be okay. So potentially what we're saying is that you, Todd, have 5 devices.
Yes,
You've downloaded that episode in 5 different devices,
yes,
essentially 5 times.
yes,
That gets counted as 5 listens
yes,
to a unique IP.
yes.
Okay.
Now, there's a whole lot of stuff in here that goes along with it. Um, but that is the essence of their what has been decided to be pushed forth as the methodology for counting. And there's, having whitelist, blacklist, that type of stuff too. Filtering, looking at, so it is definitely,
I guess the question gets back to is how many people have their podcast set up like that? Or or do most people consume their podcasts on one of their devices or maybe 2?
I know the absolute ground truth on this, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I've talked about it many times over the years past, and I will. Let's just put it this way: we will put something out at some point about that exact question.
Okay. Because I think that does open the the box of questions, right? Of are we heading down the path towards numbers that are inflated again? I know you don't want to talk about this, I'm sure, because you're on this committee, but I can't because I'm not. um, are we heading down this path towards not real numbers or inflated numbers being the part of the standard? And let's be honest, it's everybody's going to know what's going on here. I mean, it's logic, right? And it's going to be exposed that that's what's happening here.
So they
Um,
they do have 4 filtering logics, recommended process for measurement, applying filtering logic, applying file threshold logic, generate metrics, and audit the process. So, they so they're calling this filtering using IP address plus user agent. And let me read this. A combination of IP address and user agent is used to identify unique users and downloads. For example, if the same file is downloaded 10 times by 6 users, 6 user agents behind one IP. So let me read that again. For example, if the same file is downloaded 10 times by 6 user agents behind one IP, that would count as 6 users and 6 downloads. This method requires a blacklist maintained to block IP addresses that excessively download play at a value that is not feasible. In order to better support high density IP addresses, dorms, corporations, a whitelist of IP addresses may be maintained, for these IP addresses. It is not necessary to filter by UA. Preloading a podcast directly results in podcast download being counted when they should not. There are two possible solutions to handle this. Policy puts in place to not allow preloading in players, which happens a lot. Sometimes you can't even help it. Number two, use a download threshold based on ID3 header payload plus 1 minute of recording time to determine if request was for a play/download or for preloading. So you have to follow step 2, apply file threshold level. So they've got some information about that in this document as well.
So the 1 minute is the threshold
That's
for
what they're
counting?
1 minute of audio delivered is the level. Yes.
Audio, is that filtering out the the graphics file that gets downloaded?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's but an example the other day we had a client that had a 6 meg PNG in his file. He only had a 6 minute podcast. The media file was bigger than the audio.
Or the graphic was bigger than the audio. Yeah.
Yes. And number 3, eliminate potential bots and bogus requests. So there's a whole section on that. Talking about play pause scenarios, handling HTTP requests, applying file threshold levels. So there's a whole section in here on applying file threshold levels. Downloads below a certain size are like, and this is not wrong. This is good. Downloads below a certain size are unlikely to result in human consumption because too little of the file was received to listen to any content. The following rules help eliminate the downloads that are too small to be counted. Number
Mm-hmm.
1, to count as a valid download, the ID3 tag plus enough of the podcast content to play for 1 minute should have been downloaded. ID3 size recommendation, since the ID3 file size varies quite significantly, each publisher should measure the ID3 tag file size for each podcast. To be more efficient in cases where ID3 size doesn't change, the publisher should set a size for the show program, and whenever the artwork changes, recalculate the size. Number 3, content size recommendation. The size of the download for 1 minute of content will vary based on a number of factors. So, recommendations for publishers to calculate the size for each show. They go on to say this does not require continuous monitoring of the podcast as each episode gets served. Note 1, the 1 minute was chosen as a conservative minimum size since other mediums use similar or smaller thresholds. Note, if the podcast size is smaller than a minute, the metrics provider can indicate that fact and use the actual full podcast size as the threshold.
Okay.
So, there's, I will say that, let me go back to this. I just closed the article.
There's some good stuff in here from what I'm hearing.
Yes. So there's some good stuff. So I will just say that the methodology, um, that is being recommended is not used by some other players in the space. Let's go back and find how they're titling this. The IP plus user agent, that is not being used by everyone. Matter of fact, well, it's not being used by everyone. So there is guidelines in here, exceptions to allow other parties that are using an IP plus another method to explain why they're using this other method.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I also noticed that the document starts to cover ad delivery issues.
Yeah.
Starts to talk about dynamic ad insertion. One of the things about dynamic ad insertion that I don't hear get talked about a lot is the changing media file size that actually happens with that,
Yep.
um, and how that can mess up the uh, the actual byte size number that appears in the RSS feed.
Sure.
And I believe that some of and Todd, correct me if I'm wrong here. Apple looks at that, right, to help determine whether a new media file is there. Is that,
I
as
don't
far as your
I
understanding, is
I
that correct?
I don't know how Apple identifies if the media files change, to be honest with you.
Okay.
You'd have to ask Angelo that.
Yeah. All right.
But, there's some good stuff in here. But there's still let me look here. Did something get removed that I thought was in there the other day? Oh, isn't this interesting? Something that was in the document that we were talking with someone else about the other day looks like was removed. Hmm. Okay.
So I also see a number 5 um, in here, just below dynamic ad insertion. It says podcast measurement. Talks about in digital display advertising, ad tracking is performed using beacons that are triggered in the web browser or client, which verifies that the ad was viewed or at least had an opportunity to be viewed. In podcasting, client-side tracking is usually only possible when client player passes tracking data back to podcast producer distributor. In this setup, the player is programmed to notify the server that the ad has been played. While this setup offers the most accurate ad delivery counts, it represents a very small percentage of the podcast industry, less than 3%, which is kind of interesting. I guess not exactly sure what they're trying to communicate there. Are they just making a statement, or are they, I don't know if that's part of the standard. Are they trying to somehow link up the banner ad tracking technology? That sounds a little bit like Podcast One, and how they were tracking ad delivery based on the same. It's called dart tagging, is the terminology that was always referred down there. As far as you understand, Todd, is that kind of what they're talking about here? Is trying to open the door to this concept of having a client side tracking signal that's embedded into a a player on the web that 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 reports back to the server. Is that what they're trying to set up here?
Uh, Rob, I don't know.
Okay, because that's kind of what it implies here, that they're pushing down that path. Um, and I don't know how whether or not that's going to work.
Let me see if I can find something. I'm confused about something that may have been, and if something that. Hang on here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah. So if you look on page 13 of this document,
13 under which section? There's two.
it's podcast audience metrics definitions.
Okay.
So this and some of this information was directly submitted by us on version 1 of this document, but just read to yourself, Rob, line number 2, and then we'll leave it at that. I don't want to make any.
Line. Oh, in the first paragraph.
No, in the bottom of page 13, where it says podcast audience metrics definition,
Yeah.
subparagraph 2, just read that.
Oh, subparagraph 2. Okay. Uh,
Uh, Yeah. Okay, so we'll just be quiet.
Yeah.
Um. Uh-huh.
So we're trying to maybe pull cookies into this. Is that what we're trying to do now?
No, 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 no. I'll
Okay,
talk to
I'm
you
not
about
quite
I'll
getting
talk to you
that.
about it offline. Um,
Let's see here.
it's it,
JavaScript.
oh, you must be looking at the wrong thing. And there's nothing
Uh,
about JavaScript I'm talking about here. Oh no,
okay.
no, you need to go below where it says listener. That paragraph.
Oh, that paragraph. Okay, okay. That the second paragraph down
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not
was different. Okay. Since uh,
uh,
huh.
yeah, I think they forgot something. So, anyway,
It says here limited to a max of 3 IP addresses.
yeah. So, I don't know if they'll clean that up during the final
Yeah.
method, but it contradicts.
Yeah. Are they thinking that a unique listener,
Well, that's
single listener could be off of 3 IP addresses, a maximum of 3 IP addresses?
no, that's not what that says. So,
Okay. Maybe
it,
represented by IP address, but limited may be represented by a combination of IP addresses and user agents. So what part of that is
so listeners
off?
may be represented by IP address, not addresses, but limited to
Oh,
a max of 3 per IP.
three. Okay, it's okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay, it's not accurately represented there. Yeah,
no, as compared to what they say on the top of the document. So,
yeah,
anyway, this is worthy of a good read for everyone that's interested in this stuff. By
yeah.
definition, the methodology isn't wrong. The question is it the best way to do this? So
Well, we're getting down to the meat of the matter now.
yep,
All
yep,
right.
yep.
No more beating around the bush. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
see what we can get worked out by getting into the details here.
Yeah. And I would just challenge you, Rob, to do some server log looking at go on your guys' side and look at, take 100 shows or 100 episodes, and then look at how many times a unique IP actually touches the media file. Do that as an exercise, and I think you'll come up with an interesting. How should I? And let's say IP plus user agent, even if it's the same user agent, just count how many times that repeats, and you may be surprised with that end result number.
Can you give us a
I've
clue
I've
based on?
I've talked about it many times, but I'm not talking about it no more. Some there people are going to have to do their own homework at this point.
Oh,
So we'll leave it at that. Hate to be this way, but at this point, just as the way it's going to have to be. So
hmm. Well, I mean, it does make sense to do that. I mean, it's going to bring more people to the table um, on the same topic. It's just not going to be Todd putting it out there.
right.
It's going to be others that are going to do their own due diligence on this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to bring more people to the table to say maybe what's being done here isn't what's accurate.
Well, I want to be careful here and say that what they're doing is not necessarily inaccurate. I want to be careful there in saying it. This is
Well,
this is
that's
a
true.
different
That's
this is
true.
this is a different methodology, and it
It,
boils down to two things.
yeah, it's not that it's inaccurate. It's more that it's not it's not going to give you what you think that it's going to give you, right?
In my opinion, in two instances, number one, they could be undercounting in certain regards. They could, in certain regards, actually be undercounting with this method. And number two, there could be, without proper filtering, without proper whitelist, blacklist, they could invoke overcounting. So it's a double-edged sword. In one piece, there could be some undercounting, and number two, there could be some overcounting. If the right mechanisms, that's the big piece, is being able to filter and develop whitelist and stay on top of it and have blacklist. The blacklist, our blacklist is 25 times bigger than our whitelist. If you think about that, blacklist equals abusers. Those are someone trying to work the system,
Or
um,
bots or something, right?
bots, methodology, that stuff. So that list is 25 times larger than the whitelist. So, um, that's the thing. That's the key here is they're going to be you have to actively maintain this, and you have to actively, you got to have another thing you do is you got to have enough big enough data set where you can see it. If you've only got 30 or 40 shows that you're measuring, you do not have a big enough data set to be able to see a blip on something that's happening on a specific show. So if you think about this, if you're running the same algorithm across all shows, and you're running the same filters, when something oddball happens and you have a user agent or you have a bot or you have a technique being utilized, that sticks out like an absolute sore thumb. For example, if you have the running totals globally, top 20 or top 100 of the types of devices that are consuming stuff, and all of a sudden you get this oddball in a show where his listening audience has got 80% of, all of a sudden there's this blip that shows up and it says there's this a massive amount of downloads coming from this specific user agent or whatever it may be. It falls outside of the global trend line. So you can look at that. I mean, instantly you see that and you're like, whoa, what is going on here? And you go look, it's very
Hmm.
easy to see that. But if you don't have a big enough data set to be able to see that going on, you could very easily manipulate
Miss it.
40 shows. Easy to manipulate 40 shows where I've got 45,000 shows to look at. You can't manipulate 45,000 shows at once. Sure, you might manipulate 20, but I'm going to see that quick. My
Hmm.
global control panel, I can see when all of a sudden something is fell outside the bell curve of where it should be, and you say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 what's going on here?" And go look and make a determination. Okay, does the activity that's happened here, is this tied to any university, or is this tied to a server in China that's doing something it shouldn't?
Hmm.
Um,
Todd, I see another section in here called higher level metrics.
yep.
Have you had it? I mean, I'm assuming you've seen this. It talks about a little bit more of the ability to use similar technology to cookies or IFA identifier for advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be an ideal mechanism to track audiences over time. But this can be done using an, methods as described below. If the publisher distributor have the ability to identify the user, that would be, I think, in this case, the listener.
Yep.
They should indicate the mechanism used and provide the metrics downloads listeners for any additional metrics supported. So are they like opening the door to other types of tracking that would be more aligned with cookies or
This
um,
this part I'm
I
gonna
mean,
I'm gonna have to defer. I don't know, Rob. And I
yeah, and
again,
it seems like to some degree, and maybe you can give me kind of a high level view on the purpose of this document. But it seems to me like it's more like a description of what we could do, not what there's a standard for, right? It's almost like we're setting up something that's new here. We're like saying we could do this or we could do that, or these metrics could be built. There's a few options to build these metrics around this kind of stuff. So would you say that that's kind of some of the sections in this are really trying to say this is what we could do, um,
I assume that
and
everything that's
putting
being
it out there.
I assume
Yeah,
everything that's being done in this document. And again, I wasn't involved in the day-to-day editing of this, um, because Angelo was. And
yeah,
you're dealing with a big group of people, so in setting agendas aside, which there's always agendas in any group, there
sure.
is somebody's purpose being served here, and it definitely, at least on my initial reading for this, I'm just going to have to go back and ask, where is this? Where did this come from? Who submitted this? What validity is there to this? What, all that stuff that maybe I don't know that I can't answer on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really expect you to know all the answers to it. I'm just getting the impression as I look at this, we're still kind of in the definitions phase of this. Plus, we're also putting out other things or other ways that could be used to track this stuff. And I'm not even sure. I mean, if you think about this kind of tracking, it's only going to be maybe maybe in a third-party app or
Eh,
off of a website. Is really all that you're going to be able to get access to metrics based on this methodology.
Well, I'm just I would assume based on just reading this, and I kind of get an idea maybe who this came from, but I can't. I'm not going to say at this point till I kind of confirm, what the
Yeah,
agenda is with this higher level metric.
yeah.
So
I'm glad that they do say do not deploy autoplay in your players.
right.
Do not preload content unless the intent was clearly to play the podcast. Yeah, they left the door open on that
Hmm.
because that could be abused. Seems like okay.
So I'm actually sending a message over and asking him to look at that section, explain to me. Maybe I can get an answer for it from next show. Or if he checks his Slack today, maybe he'll respond today. So anyway, it's a lot further than where we've been for sure. We've got a lot deeper in the weeds here.
Yeah.
Um, but getting that many people working together and trying to get them a degree on everything and degree on what math we're introducing, what math they're introducing. It's a give and take with anything. So
And it looks like you guys are starting to cover filtering, which is good.
yep, yep. But it's been interesting, And here's another thing too, Rob. It's challenging for us, and for Podtrack and for Libsyn. We've invested a huge amount of intellectual property and spent a lot of money refining all three companies refining our measurement methods.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got many years of experience. So oftentimes, if I laid out everything, I'm literally giving someone $1 million worth of knowledge, with for free. Um, and what again, while I'm saying that there is, number one, I don't like leaving legitimate downloads on the table. I don't like doing that at all. If it's a legitimate download, we want to count it. Number two, I don't ever want to. I want to be able to maintain a good filtering blacklist, light list, being able to make sure that we're never overcounting, so that it's a two-way street. And is there a fine balance there? I don't know. What weighs more than the other? How do the numbers change on a system to system basis? If everyone implements exactly what they're saying in this document, then do people's numbers go up? Do people's numbers go down? Is the delta a 10%, where does that lie? And I get spooked a little bit because we have a good handle on the data and we know what's happened over the past literally 12 years. So for me to say we need to switch our methodology
To this,
to
or
this,
yeah, is going backwards for you, right?
right. And so all I'm going to have to do is we're going to have to explain, okay, here's where we go the next level. And just use that as it is. It definitely, and I don't think I'm going to be the only one doing that. So, and it's not that this is, just so everyone's clear, it's not that this is wrong. I want to make that clear here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there are trade-offs to, probably to both methods. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're just based on my perception of your platform, your platform is going to be pretty pretty darn accurate. What's happening out there, but does that automatically, Todd, mean that your numbers are probably going to be lower in some situations than what a platform using this
it
as a
it
basis for
it it,
tracking
it, dep- it
would have?
it depends on how good their filtering is. If their filtering is really good, their numbers will be lower.
Oh, okay. Depending on how exactly they deploy those filters,
Right.
right?
Again, I don't like leaving downloads on the table. That
But but some parts, done a certain way will leave more, and other parts will be leave less, right? I
right.
mean, so the devil's in the details on
Yeah,
this.
so that's where I told you go do your homework, Rob, and then you'll know the
Yeah,
answer to this.
yeah. And what end of that spectrum you want to fall under, depending on, I mean, I hate to say it, but for many it'll be depending on the business model that
Right,
that company
right,
operates
right.
under.
And there's going to be some companies that are going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. They don't want to do this method at all.
Yeah, because I mean, looking at a platform like Spreaker, uh, we don't have an agenda for a particular high or low number.
No, and I've always said I don't care what the number is as long as I know what the number is.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is okay, so what's the delta in the methodology? Well, is it 10%? Is it 5%? Is it 3%? Where we don't know that. Again,
But
it's
Todd, I also don't want to be judged in this industry, and I've seen it other places too, where some number on a metrics dictates the success or failure of your company too.
right.
Like I'm going to compete in the market because I have higher numbers.
Hmm.
I'm going to attract more podcasts to my platform because I can show higher numbers. There's been a few in the space that have tried to play that game.
Yes, they have.
So, it's, and if you show lower numbers, maybe that's not as attractive to a podcast that's trying to monetize by advertising.
And I think in a document like this, not everyone is going to be 100% happy. I'm sure all the companies have given taken a little bit on this thing, and they're like, and they battled this, and literally battled this out, meeting after meeting, and sometimes it goes down to just a few words in a sentence, you know, and sometimes a word in a sentence gives someone just a little wiggle room. It really is that detailed, you
Hmm.
know. Um, so, and another thing too is the something that we weren't involved with. We didn't even know the editing was going on, but the podcaster playbook is now in public comment too. I haven't even looked at that. I did get back off travel yesterday. I was just like, when did they start editing this, and why weren't we notified, and so I have to look at what's been edited in the podcaster playbook too.
So what's that? Is that a separate item in
It
here?
it says not in this document. This is purely measurement. The podcaster
Yeah,
playbook is basically. Let's see if I can find it.
it's from
It's from AIB.
is Is it from the other work group that was working?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find it on the website too.
Yeah, I have to go back and find the. I guess I gotta load the email.
It doesn't look like it. Maybe it's been put out yet.
Yeah, I think it is. It's I guess. Let's see if I can find the email that I had it was having an ongoing email with someone about this. Let's see here. Let me look at it. Where's it at? There we go. See if I can find the link. So they sent. Oh no, this is not for public yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing a link to it off of the website.
Yeah, it's not. So there was a. Um, there's a draft that's out to us for comment, is what it is. So that's in work. And I need to go through and review it. So I'm sure at some point that'll be out for public comment too, as well. But so a lot of data being put together, and it's going to help the podcasting space overall. So,
Yeah, it puts us a little closer.
but the real problem still continues to be the suppression of CPMS. I had another company call me and say, "Well, I'm getting such and such over here, and how come you can't do that price?" And I'm like, I won't do it. It's too bad, to be honest with you.
Could also be the glut of content that's out there and the amount of people that are trying to get advertising too.
It's the big vendors taking smaller CPMs. They got huge inventories, so yeah, we'll take 8. That's what it
Uh,
boils down to.
they must be turning some big numbers.
Well, yeah, some of them are. Some of them turn in some massive numbers, but it
Mm-hmm.
leaves the average guy on the sidelines, you know,
Yeah.
which is too bad. So we'll see what happens here over time, but the model is moving, and not necessarily a direction that I'm very pleased with as far as the pricing goes. We just have to try to hold the line the best we can with the
Mm-hmm.
vendors. All I
So
know,
did I hear it right that Podcast Movement's going to be in Philadelphia next year?
it's either Philly or Pittsburgh, one of the two. I saw that,
I heard
and
it was Philadelphia.
maybe it is. Let me Google. Actually, I should have looked in the podcast. I can look in the podcast movement community. I'm pretty sure it was Philly, but then, getting to the East Coast, which that's kind of exciting.
And I guess, well, the Mid Atlantic Podcast Conference is happening in Philadelphia again here in September. And I also see that there's a Philadelphia Podcast Festival from July 14th through the 23rd. I guess it's happening as we speak.
Hmm.
Um, it's probably a fan event.
Right. Well, there's been a lot of, I guess what you want to say, a lot of those festivals have been happening. So,
Uh huh. More and more, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm actually on their site right now. The 5th annual Philadelphia Podcast. So I didn't know it'd been going on for 5 years.
yeah,
Holy
me
smokes.
neither.
How do we miss that?
Well, it's just one of those multiple things that are out there. Do you want to see? Let me show you something here, Rob. Yeah, I gotta load it. I was on Facebook the other night, and it forced me to change my password. I've never had that happen before.
Mm.
I went from my phone to a browser within like 5 minutes, or from my phone to um, a website to a browser on my computer, and
Hmm.
it flagged it. So let's see if I can blow this up anymore.
So if you wanted to go check out the Philadelphia Podcast Festival, it's at phillypodfest.com.
Cool.
and that's Philly with a Y.
So, did you see our team picture we put up online?
I did see that. That was the first time you guys have gotten the whole team together in one
Well,
place.
we were short
Is that right?
4 people plus our blog writer wasn't there. So actually we were short 5 people. So
Oh, you were okay.
yeah, so this is the Columbus office, and in the picture I'm showing right now, you got Angela on the right, you've got Mackenzie, you got Winnie's a dev, Lena's a dev, you got Brian, who's the creative director, Barry, who's the CFO legal guy, me, Mike
Hmm.
Dell, the support guy, George and Thomas were both devs, and so who was missing in the picture was, let's see if make sure I don't get this wrong here. Was missing Jeff out of New York, missing Kathy out of Denver, missing Sean out of California, missing Charles out of Atlanta, and then our blogger, our independent contract blogger, was not there. So,
Okay.
but yeah, had a good team meeting. It worked out well. It was good to have everyone, in the same room, and it's usually just the board that's meeting. So uh, I was glad to get as many people as we could into Columbus. But
Yeah, it's good. I found it to be great to be able to get whole team together. As going to going to retreats with the team is helpful.
yep,
Definitely.
yeah, absolutely helpful. So yeah, it was really had a good week. Had a really really good week. Then it was like did a bunch of interviews, and so yeah, it worked out well. Let's see. Let me see what else we got in the stack here today that was in the news. Let me look over in pod to pod.
I didn't see a lot new over there.
Yeah, the upfront. They talked about the upfront that's coming to. It's going to be in New York on September 7th. It's another IAB sponsored event. I think you started to talk about it at the beginning of the show
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and it's got it's who's all participating. It's
Gimlet, How Stuff Works, iHeartMedia is, I guess, going to be there because they're starting to produce podcast content. Panoply,
Gimlet, ESPN.
Panoply.
How
Yeah.
yeah. So we're not a content company. We don't
Yeah.
we're not doing you know content deals. So these folks will bring in probably one of their headliner shows, and that's how the upfront works. It's the vendor. They pay to be part of the upfront. So each company pays a fee to the IEB, and then the vendor and the talent, they get so much time on stage. It's like 20 minutes or something like that they get to pitch
Hmm.
any of the media buyers that are in the audience. So
Yeah. It's it's a very small group of podcasters that participate in these things.
right, it'll be like 9 or 10, whatever it's. I think it's a 1-for-1. So ESPN will have one, Gimlet will have one, How Stuff Works will have one, iHeartMedia. They may bring two, but they've only got the same amount of time. They've got a very limited amount of time to.
Yeah, is it like 15 minutes or
They
something
have
like
like
that?
20 minutes. I think it's 20
20
minutes to
minutes.
pitch. Yeah. So anyway, that's the upfront that happens. I think there's a second or third one. Oh, it's a third. It is a third.
Hmm.
So
Slated for September 7th.
yep,
And part of it, they play up the whole aspect that the market is expected to top $220 million in advertising sales this
yep.
year.
Let's see what else. A lot of people are still talking about the Apple stuff, but no one really knows what's going to happen here. To be
Oh,
honest.
when those new tags are going to be supported?
Yep. But there's a lot of job openings going on. The folks at Quick and Dirty Tips are hiring. They're hiring some folks.
Hmm.
Gimlet is seeking a producer. Slate is seeking a director of podcast. Most of these folks are out on most of these jobs are, I think, on the East Coast. I don't know where the Gimlet one is. Um,
It's
maybe,
probably on the East Coast too, I
yeah,
would
it's
think.
in their Brooklyn, New York office. So, if you live in New York, if you can afford to live in New York, it's a great job opportunity. But most of these companies are all in these big, expensive cities.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I also know, I mean, this September and October, there's just a boatload of podcasting events happening. I mean, so many that there's no way that I can participate in all of them. Um, like the Now Hear This is
hmm
going on in New York in September. You got LA Podfest. You got podcast
yep,
movements. You got, I mean,
that's in August.
just
But yeah,
the list. The list goes on and on and on. Um,
and it sounds like this PodCon event in Seattle is exploding. We were told that they've already sold 2,000 tickets to PodCon.
hmm
So, it's just like,
That's
okay,
another kind of a listener event.
yeah, but you know, it, it's interesting. So we're probably going to go, but yeah, it's, all these events. I'm looking and talking with Barry about the budget. I'm like, my God, can I, how many
I
of these
know
can we
there's just so
do?
many events going on. It's just crazy.
I set my budget at the beginning of the year what we're going to do for events, and there's three brand new events that pop up, and you're like, it's 10 grand to do an event like that. So do
hmm
you suck it up and go, and do you make the money back in what it costs to attend and have a booth and all that, and so it's challenging. You know,
Yeah, I don't know. Is PodCon really doing any kind of booths?
uh, I'm not sure. I know they're doing sessions, so
Yeah,
so but
yeah. I
yeah.
just wasn't sure they were
But
doing any.
Snooky doesn't appear to be on Podcast One anymore. Snooky and
Uh,
Joey are launching their own podcast over on Acast. It makes you go, hmm.
I'm not surprised actually. I'm the one that worked on launching his show or her show. So yeah.
Has she grown up a little bit? And I haven't listened to new content, but they get a great album art. They did a good job on the picture. But yet,
Uh, yeah, I know that Podcast One had a hard time selling her show. So that's
so
just at the time anyway. That's been a few years ago now.
right. Host of the Tax Season podcast, and I've never listened to it, was charged with murder. So we've got a podcaster that has been charged with a federal weapons possession charge. It was tied to a May 2016 shooting at Irving Plaza in Manhattan. So I think this is the first.
Great.
This is the first podcaster we have that is in jail for killing or accused of killing someone. Let's be careful there.
Okay, I guess we're growing up then, huh?
Yeah, we are. We did
We
release.
have
Go ahead.
murderers in our midst.
Yeah, we did release PowerPress 7.1, and we had the most number of downloads we've ever had on a single release of that plugin. So people are widely anticipating its launch to get hold of the new iOS 11 keys. The new tags and so forth are supported in it. So
hmm
I had a couple emails. How come this is not working in iTunes? I I've
It's
implemented this.
broken, Todd. Did you know it's broken?
They're like, how come it's not there? We implemented it. Why is it not showing up? I'm like, you have to wait for iOS 11 to be released. What? What do you mean?
We're
read the
so impatient. We got to have it now.
read the fine print.
Yeah, right. It's funny.
And we did change subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We did have a bunch of people worried about that because that was very important. We had the labeling right.
Hey, Todd, I was thinking maybe in the next few weeks, maybe we start maybe really going after some more guests again on this show.
Yeah,
Uh, we can we can probably go after that
yeah, that would be
and see if
cool.
we can bring on some people that can bring bring a little fresh perspective to.
Yeah, bring some interjection to it. The two curmudgeons here.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting a little too curmudgeon-y here, so let's bring in some fresh meat that we can chew on.
All right, that'll work.
So I'm not quite sure who that fresh meat might be, but I'll come up with somebody
All right.
that'll rattle your cage.
Okay. So everything looks good for the next 2 weeks for me. I will be traveling the week of the 31st, but I don't think it's going to affect the show. It may affect the show on August 5th, but the next 22 and 29, we should be able to be fine to be back on Saturday shows. You got anything going on?
I'm at the Conclave, which is really kind of an odd name for a for for a show that I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have you heard of it, Todd? It's called the
I've heard of
Conclave.
it, but I'm not real familiar with it.
Okay, it's uh, it's basically a radio event that's happening in Minneapolis. I'm going to be there on the 25th
Uh-huh.
through and coming back on the 28th. So I should be back, able to do the show on the 29th
Okay.
of this month. So anyway, I'll be back there doing a panel on podcasting, talking to radio people. And I did see that the the National Association of Broadcasters folks are still working away on trying to come up with a podcasting effort at the next NAB show
Uh-huh.
in Vegas next year. So it seems like it's moving forward. That they're going to have their own little pavilion. It looks like is kind of what it's the direction that they're going towards. They'll probably do more around a content track. They just did a half of a day. Who knows what they'll do, if they'll do a full day or something like that. But
Right.
it seems like NAB is getting on board.
Well, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're here at the end,
Oh,
and
we are
yeah,
10:30 already.
yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing when time flies when you're having fun.
I guess so.
So everyone,
That's
thanks for being here. We appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us. And everyone that has commentary today, we want to hear from you. You can reach me at todd@blueberry.com or on Twitter at Geek News. Of course, you can follow me on Facebook as well. And of course, you can follow my multiple podcasts, your podcast over at powerpresspodcast.com, Geek News Central podcast at geeknewscentral.com. Of course, we want you to subscribe to this show here at newmediashow.com. Rob, how about you?
Best way to reach me is just send me a note in Twitter at Rob Greenlee. Can also be found, obviously, in email, rob at Spreaker.com or rob at robgreenlee.com. Both will work. And those are great ways to get us. And definitely, reach out if you have something to share, and we can talk about on the program next week of something that's important. And I'll, like I told Todd earlier, I'll see if I can get on an interesting guest to talk about a unique topic in the space or something like that, and we can kind of spice it up a little bit for next week, or the week after, depending on how long it takes to actually get somebody to commit to a Saturday morning.
All right. Sounds good. Everyone, thanks for being
Okay.
here. And thanks for joining us on a Sunday. I know we've had people popping in and out on the live stream, so thanks for watching. It's definitely
Yeah.
been our pleasure to bring the show to you today. So we'll see you next time here on the New Media Show at newmediashow.com. And get subscribed so you don't miss a single episode of the show. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.